Hey y'all, welcome back. I am DG Hamblin and we are feasting on the Word. Now, the other day I showed you how the temple covenants could be found in King Benjamin's speech. And I mentioned, I believe, that the temple covenants are also in 1st Nephi. So we're going to take just a few minutes and we're going to show you that today. I just want to mention, or remind you rather, I'm not anybody special. I'm just a regular guy. I love the scriptures. I love to study them. And I've learned that there are really two ways that I learn in the scriptures. And one of those is an investigative approach that I take where I use the skills that I developed in my time in law enforcement and especially as an investigator to find little details and find things that I think are just really interesting. And that really kind of keeps my fire stoked for studying the scriptures. But the way that I learn the things that are most valuable to me is through the Spirit. And the things I'm going to mention today I had brought to my mind actually when I was in the temple doing an endowment, and I just had brought very plainly to my mind how these covenants are right here. I got excited. I ran home, and sure enough. So, the Spirit will at times really open my eyes to things that I didn't know was there. And when I had this happen, I got excited and I just wanted to share it with everybody. Now, it just so happens that like the day after this experience, I was watching another YouTube channel, The Stick of Joseph with the Paul brothers. I think it was Hayden that was on there. And he was talking to David Butler and Mike Day about their book called In the Language of Adam. And I don't have my copy yet. I've ordered one. It's not here. But I would recommend that you get that because he starts talking about just giving some tidbits and things to get your attention as to what's in the book. And one of the things that he talked about, or maybe the main thing he was talking about, was how the journey of Lehi and his family after they left Jerusalem through the wilderness and until they get to the land they call Bountiful really is a temple journey, or rather a tabernacle journey. Instead of the temple in Jerusalem being represented, it's more the tabernacle that Moses was instructed to build. And it covers the exact same chapters that I'm going to talk about here. And I just thought that was really cool. Okay, so just dive right in. There are 5 covenants which we make in the temple, and we can talk about those because the church has that publicly available on their website. And the covenants we make refer to the law of obedience, the law of sacrifice, the law of the gospel, the law of chastity, and the law of consecration. And we will see these in order here in 1st Nephi, beginning in chapter 3. And I hope as I mention some of this, I hope you're thinking ahead of me and hope you get ahead and you start to understand what I'm going to say before I say it. Because what do we have in chapter 3? Well, the Lord tells Lehi to send his sons to Jerusalem to obtain the gold plates. And he tells Nephi about that in verses 2 and 3 and 4. And then we get to verse 7, which is the one that we've heard from the time we were very young in primary, where Nephi says, I will go and do the things which the Lord hath commanded, for I know that the Lord giveth no commandments unto the children of men, save he shall prepare a way for them, that they may accomplish the thing which he commandeth them. a clear indication that he is going to be obedient in keeping this commandment from the Lord. Now, additionally, we see, and we know what happens. They go, I won't get too much into the story, but they go to Jerusalem, and I think that Laban is the one who goes first and just kind of asks him, I guess, for the plates, and he says, I'll kill you, you're a robber, and blah, blah, blah. And so, pretty much, I think everybody else wants to go back, oh, well, we tried. And in verse 15, we see, verse 15 and 16, Nephi says to his brothers, as the Lord liveth, and as we live, we will not go down into our father in the wilderness until we have accomplished the thing which the Lord hath commanded us. Wherefore let us be faithful in keeping the commandments of the Lord. Therefore let us go down to the land of our father. They're going to get their gold, gather all their valuables, and try to go buy the plates. So again, he's admonishing them and telling them, no, we're going to be faithful in keeping the commandments. And then you can also, we see it in chapter 4 where he actually gets the plates. Let's see, verse 6. This is where Nephi himself, the third attempt now, he's going by himself back to get the plates. Verse 6, I was led by the Spirit, not knowing beforehand the things which I should do. But he is being faithful. He's keeping the commandment. He goes back. We kind of know what happens here, right? He finds Laban. Laban is drunk. He's passed out drunk. And the Spirit tells him, to kind of finish him off. I have to be careful, even on a video like this, what words I use, because YouTube doesn't like certain things. And so the Spirit tells him, and he's like, I've never done this before. I've never shed anybody's blood. And so the Spirit explains to him why. By the way, as a side note, real quick, and maybe I'll make a video about this sometime, but I can show you how Nephi, under the law of Moses, was 100% justified in doing what he did. Nephi was completely justified under the law. But that's for another time. And so he does what the Spirit tells him to do. Verse 18, therefore I did obey the voice of the Spirit. And he takes Laban by the head and does what he does. And again, these are in the story itself. These covenants are demonstrated in the story. So we don't have them preached, we just have them demonstrated. Okay, I should have made that point up front. Okay, next, the law of the gospel. No, I'm sorry. What am I getting ahead of myself? The law of sacrifice. The law of sacrifice. Now, in chapter 5, verse 9, after they get back with the brass plates, it says here that that they did offer sacrifice and burnt offerings unto the Lord. But okay, that's under the law of Moses. That's how they sacrificed. And what are we supposed to offer as a sacrifice? A broken heart and a contrite spirit, in being repentant and trying to do better. And we see that demonstrated in the story. Not there, but we see it in chapter 9. I'm sorry. Man, what is wrong with my brain today? Chapter 7. In chapter 7, Lehi tells Nephi and his brothers to go back to Jerusalem and to get Ishmael and his family and to bring them down to them in the wilderness. And so they go and they convince them, and then as they're headed back, then what happens? Laman and Lemuel and the sons of Ishmael, they get all upset. They begin to rebel. They take Nephi and they tie him up, and they're going to kill him. And Nephi prays. The bands are loosed, and he gets away. And now they're really angry, and they're going to tie him up again. And so then Here's the cool part. Okay, that's let me get my verses straight here. Um, so around verse 19, they're angry again, and it says, "They sought to lay hands upon me, but behold, one of the daughters of Ishmael, yea, and also her mother, and one of the sons of Ishmael, did plead with my brethren, insomuch that they did soften their hearts." So Laman and Lemuel's hearts become softened, and they did cease striving to take away my life. And it continues. And it came to pass that they were sorrowful because of their wickedness, insomuch that they did bow down before me, and did plead with me that I would forgive them of the thing that they had done against me. Now into verse 21. And it came to pass that I did frankly forgive them all that they had done, and I did exhort them that they should pray unto their God for forgiveness. And it came to pass that they did so. So we see here in chapter 7 a clear demonstration. This is Laman and Lemuel, and we know the outcome of that. But here we see in them, and perhaps in them we can see a little bit of ourselves, demonstrating in this moment a broken heart and a contrite spirit, and seeking forgiveness and trying, at least in that moment, to change their ways. Okay, now the law of the gospel. Can't explain all that, but I'll give you the chapters, and it'll make sense. It's chapters 8 through 15 and the very first part of 16. And what do we have there? Well, you have Lehi's vision that he sees, and then Nephi's vision, where he's shown the same thing that his father saw, and we have it in much greater detail. Lehi also, after his vision, he preaches to his family. He tells them what he saw and explains it. And then Nephi, I think, kind of does the same thing. But what's the vision all about? It's about the entire plan of salvation, and about a Savior coming to redeem the world because of its fallen state and fulfilling the plan of salvation. It is the gospel in its entirety, in its completeness, preached there. So we have the gospel there in the story. Okay, and that continues on, like I said, into the first part of chapter 16. And then what do we have? The rest of it is here in 16. All of a sudden, kind of out of the blue, this little mention in verse 7. And it came to pass that I, Nephi, took one of the daughters of Ishmael to wife, and also my brethren took of the daughters of Ishmael to wife, and also Zoram took the eldest daughter of Ishmael to wife. You have all these young men and men traveling, and women, young men and women traveling together in the wilderness, living together. We better get them married so that they're living the law of chastity. So they all get married, and then the very next verse says, "And thus my father had fulfilled all the commandments of the Lord which had been given unto him." So evidently, the Lord commanded Lehi that they should get married. Again, fulfilling so that they can live the law of chastity. All right. Now, the last one. What happens after they get married? Well, they're supposed to... the Liahona shows up, and they're supposed to take their journey into the wilderness again, and Nephi goes hunting. They need some food. Verse 18. Okay, so what are we going to talk about here? The law of consecration. So think about the law of consecration as we mention these verses. It came to pass that as I, Nephi, went forth to slay food, behold, I did break my bow. It's made of fine steel. And now everybody's mad because they have nothing to eat. His brothers are mad at him. Everybody starts to murmur against the Lord. They're complaining. Even Lehi complains against the Lord. Nephi is the only one who doesn't. So, he had spoken to him, tell him to quit complaining, and then he does something about it. He says in verse 23, "It came to pass that I, Nephi, did make out of wood a bow, and out of a straight stick an arrow. Wherefore I did arm myself with a bow and an arrow, with a sling and with stones." So he, having the ability, makes a new bow out of wood, makes at least one arrow, takes his sling and his stones. He's a pretty good hunter. He has the equipment now. He's made it. He goes to his father. He says, "Where should I go find food?" They've all humbled themselves. The father asks. The Lord kind of admonishes him. He tells him where to go. So, over in verse 30, "It came to pass that I, Nephi, did go forth up into the top of the mountain according to the directions which were given upon the Baal, the Liahona. And it came to pass that I did slay wild beasts, insomuch that I did obtain food for our families." Verse 32, "It came to pass that I did return to our tents, bearing the beasts which I had slain. And now, when they beheld that I had obtained food, how great was their joy." So, we don't see any complaining here that he's having to do everything, that he's having to go get all the food, that he has to be the one to make a new bow. None of that. He just very matter-of-factly and humbly uses his ability and his time and goes and is able to provide for everyone. A clear demonstration in my mind of the law of consecration. Okay. That's what I have for you today. Maybe I'm wrong. I really don't think so, because in this instance, like I said, this was brought clarity to my mind while I was in the temple. I'm convinced it was the Spirit that showed me it was there. If I can find it real quick, I want to just share with you one other thing. When I was in the temple, I love to read the scriptures when I'm in the temple. And as I opened them up, I felt like I should go to 3rd Nephi. This was the same day. And this was chapter 17. This kind of it's changed the way that I prepare myself when I go to the temple now. And changed a little bit the way that I prepare to study the scriptures. And in chapter 17, this is after Christ has appeared to the Nephites at the temple. Right at the end of the first day he's appeared to them. And he's just finished talking to them. Look, I'm from the South. I don't use great English sometimes, so forgive me if I say something that it seems, whoa, that guy's not educated. Maybe I'm not super educated. But anyway, sorry about that. All right, back where I was saying. Chapter 17. "Behold, now it came to pass that when Jesus had spoken these words, he looked round about again on the multitude, and he said unto them, Behold, my time is at hand. I perceive that ye are weak, that ye cannot understand all my words which I am commanded of the Father to speak unto you at this time. Therefore, go ye into your homes, and ponder upon the things which I have said, and ask of the Father in my name, that ye may understand, and prepare your minds for the morrow, and I come unto you again." And that really struck me. And so now, I try to take some extra time in prayer. I'll often go fasting to the temple. And because the Spirit is so strong and operates so well there, I believe if we'll prepare ourselves, then we'll have things shown to us that we did not understand. And the same can be applied to the Scriptures, that if we'll prepare ourselves, if we'll ask the Lord to show us what He's prepared for us individually in the Scriptures, He'll do it. I'll see y'all again soon. I hope you enjoyed this. I enjoy sharing it with you. Have a great day. And know I love you.